Okay.
So,
Ready. Hello, we are Drop Stitches. We are an Australian knitting podcast where we talk about everything that we're working on at the moment and our successes and failures. And we also plan on talking about our favourite Australian yarns, our favourite Australian designers, and shops as well. I'm Amy.
I'm Leigh.
And we're coming to you today from Ballarat in Australia. So today we're going to be talking about our knitting plans for 2026. Some of them more well-formed than others, but that is we'll go through what we've got.
One of us is organised, one of us is not. You figure out which.
I would still not call myself organised, but we'll see. So shall we talk about what I am wearing before we kick off?
Good plan.
Okay, so this is the outline tee by Jessie Made Designs. And I made this out of the Oyster Yarns Maven, which is a single ply yarn with, I think it's wool, silk and yak in it. So because it's a single ply, it does pill a little bit, but I still love it. I made it a size down from what was recommended, so that it was a little bit more fitted than what was recommended in the pattern. But yeah, I really love it.
It's really good.
It fits exactly the way that, I don't know if it's the way that I wanted it to fit, but it fits in a way that I really like. And yeah, I want to make another one.
So is it superwash?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Superwash grows or doesn't grow? I can never remember it.
I think they say that superwash grows.
Right.
But this didn't really grow very much.
Yeah. It looks really elevated, elegant. I don't know what the word is, but it looks really nice. It elevates an outfit, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Because you've worn it out a couple of times.
Yeah, I wear it on like quite nice days. Obviously warm days because it's a summer tee. It is a little bit warm sometimes, but it's just so nice. I really love it. But yeah, I agree. I think this particular colorway just looks really, posh is the wrong word.
Yeah.
But like it looks
Posh
nice.
we are not.
No, we're definitely not posh. But I really like it, and I definitely want to make another one.
Yes. Oh, yes. Same. But we will get to that. Do you want to do your plans, your 2026?
Sure. So I'll talk through my plans first, and then we'll talk through Leigh's. We have already recorded this once before, so we thought changing it up. Leigh went first last time, and we have no audio on that recording, so we're trying again. My plans are relatively loose. I have a couple of specific projects that I want to make, but I also have a bit more of a general high-level goals. So I did make a bit of a make 9 for the year, but they're not specific patterns. They're more like things that I want to achieve. So I'll pop that up on screen. So I've kind of grouped things into a bit of themes of what I want to achieve this year. So one of them is creativity. I often feel like I have to follow a pattern almost word for word, and I'd like to feel a little bit more free than that. So one of the first things I want to focus on is doing something this year where I hack or stray from a pattern. And
sorry, I'm making a face because I'm like, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Like I people who say, oh, I just made this up, or I went off piste, and I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna follow the pattern. Thanks very much.
Yeah, and that's kind of my thing as well. Like I am very much a follower of patterns, but that doesn't always necessarily result in the best fit for me or the best outfit for what I actually want. So yeah, I do want to set myself a goal this year of actually moving away from what is written in stone, or what I feel like is written in stone. That's I guess a broad concept.
Yeah.
The other things that fall into that category of creativity is to knit an all over texture garment. So I have made all over cable knit, all over texture with cables. In the past, I've made the book club cardigan and I've made the Moby sweater. But I would like to do something else. I love texture. I think texture is probably one of my favorite pieces of knitting.
Yeah, I think I'm the same.
Yeah, more than anything else. I just love the way that different textures look. So I would like to try a texture that I haven't tried before. Not necessarily cables, but just something interesting that looks really interesting and has a lot of depth because of that texture. And the other thing in that creativity category is that I want to spin 50 grams of fibre.
Ooh.
So for Christmas, I think 2 years ago, my wife gifted me a drop spindle and some fleece. And then I bought a braid of fleece from Tandy at the Bendigo Sheep Show last year with the intention of learning to spin. I've done a very small amount of spinning so far. It was not very successful. It was very thick and a bit unwieldy, but I'd love to practice that. And yeah, 50 grams, like it's it's not even enough for a sock really, but it's just, I guess, setting myself a goal of an amount that I'd like to get done by the end of the year. The other thing I want to focus on is building out my wardrobe a bit more. So a couple of things on my Make 9 for this year are to finish 2 pairs of socks. So I have made socks in the past, but I'm very bad at finishing the second one. And I've mostly knit socks for other people. Well, I've knit socks for Danica rather than for myself. So I've only made 1 pair of socks for myself.
Have you ever done, I guess not, or you wouldn't have second sock syndrome, like 2 at a time socks? I think I'd be interested in doing 2 at a time. I've knit 1 pair of socks in my life, but I think 2 at a time would probably be the way I would need to do it.
Yeah, I am tempted to try 2 at a time. At the moment, I'm knitting, I've got a pair of socks on my needles at the moment, but they're on DPNs. So you can't really do, unless you had 2 sets of DPNs, you can't really do 2 at a time.
That would be my issue then, because I really like DPNs. I hate Magic Loop.
Then you wouldn't be able to do 2 at a time.
Because that's the only way. I did look it up once and then didn't do anything about it.
Yeah, because you put both of them on 1 cable.
Yeah.
And as you move around.
Yeah.
Like you can knit 2 simultaneously, I think is what they say when you knit them on separate cables or separate needles.
That feels like a recipe for disaster.
It could be, yeah. So yeah, I'd like to make 2 pairs of socks. I've got sock yarn already in my stash that I'll use for that, and I do already have 1 pair on the needles. So there,
So
I won't say I'm half.
Yeah, I'm tick that box.
I wouldn't say I'm halfway there because I haven't finished a single sock yet, but I'm like a fifth of the way there. Yeah. The other thing in the wardrobe building category is to knit an overall colourwork garment. And this kind of is also a creativity one, but I would like to have another all over colourwork jumper in particular in my wardrobe, especially because, as I mentioned in our first video, my Funfetti raglan, which I love, but for a variety of reasons, I don't really wear it very much. So I would like to make another one. And I do actually have some yarn that I brought to share.
I really think you have to show your storage container. It's too good to not share that.
So we're filming at Leigh's house today. So I drove over here from my place and I had to bring a bunch of stuff with me so that we could film. And I brought my yarn pile in this gyprock bucket, multi-purpose joint compound.
And multi-purpose, like they would never have imagined in a million years that's what they meant.
This is the multiest of purposes. So this was from our renovation last year on the house. We had to use a bunch of this. So we've got a whole bunch of different size containers like this. And I actually use these to block my knits as well, like to wash my knits.
They're so good. Like I am all about reusing what you've got, and that's, to me, that's like the ultimate, as I sit here in front of stuff that I've bought because they were cute, but I love that so much. That's my favorite thing. I love it.
So yes, so this was really just to transport it here, but it does work. So
use what you have, people.
So in the vein of the all over colourwork garment, I have a couple of options already planned. So this yarn is the Drover and Classer Bellevue, And I bought the white, which I think is called fence post, and the duck egg. I bought at a yarn store in New South Wales a couple of years ago when we were on a caravan trip. So I bought the yarn at the Yarn by the River in Narrandera in New South Wales in 2023. Unfortunately, I think they've closed down since then.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a shame.
But it was a really cute little yarn store, and I think it was just run by a woman who just loved it.
Loved it.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
So I only bought 2 of the fence post and 1 of the duck egg, and then I got home and I went, what am I going to do with that much yarn? It's not very much. So it's a sport weight Australian superfine merino sport weight 5-ply, 330 meters per 100 grams.
It's their own sheep, isn't it?
Yes. So Drover and Classer, I believe, have a farm with sheep. They shear the sheep. They send the wool to New Zealand, where it gets processed and turned into yarn, and then it comes back to Australia and they dye it themselves. Drover and Classer dye it themselves.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So because I had this yarn, I've had it in my stash for 2 years now, not knowing really what to do with it because I didn't have enough to make anything other than maybe a shawl, but I don't really wear shawls. So I didn't really know what to do with it. So then when we went to the Bendigo Sheep Show last year, 2025, I decided to come up with a plan of what I wanted to make with it and buy additional yarn to supplement what I already had. So the pattern that I have in mind now that I want to make is the Trove by Emma Dusha, which is from the Pom Pom issue 30 from autumn 2019. And you can buy it on Ravelry, I think, as a single pattern as well. So that one, with that project in mind, I then went to the Drover and Classer stand at the Bendigo Sheep Show and asked for her help to pick an additional colour. As it turns out, I decided that I was going to just do 3 colours for mine. But as it turns out, the way that the pattern, because I've bought the pattern now, the way that the pattern is written, the way that the texture or the colour changing works, I don't know if I will actually be able to get away with only having 2 contrast colours.
Oh, okay.
So I might need to buy a 3rd potentially. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting this out of my stash for one, but having a colourwork jumper. So that's kind of a vague plan that I have to hit part of that Make 9. The other one that I want to talk about in the same category of that knitting and all over colourwork garment is the Hortik by Teti Lutzak.
I love her designs.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah. And I think I have 3 or 4 of her designs in my queue on Ravelry. I just love them all. The Polina pullover, which has the really big flowers on it. I really love that. There's one particular version that I saw on Instagram that just made me fall in love with it. So that's actually been at the top of my queue for like a year and a half and I haven't gotten around to making it. But the Hortik by Teti Lutzak, so I actually bought yarn specifically for this at the Gore Woolen Mill Christmas market back in December. And that is the Pirate Pearl yarn Fathom, which is an 80% merino, 20% alpaca, 8-ply. And so this is the color Zest, and this is a one of a kind grey. So I have the plan is for this to be the main color and the grey to be the contrast color.
So good. Pirate Pearl's colors are just every time we've been to Bendigo, I spend so long at her stand going, what'll I get? And I end up getting nothing because I don't go with the plan. So I think I might try and go with the plan this year because her stuff is just so beautiful.
Yeah.
Like she does some good rusts and things like that. I'm pretty keen to to do something with hers one day.
Yeah. Yeah, we love her yarn. The yarn that she uses as the base is I think, milled by Gore Woolen Mill, and she dyes it in all these fun different colours. So we're kind of supporting two small businesses that way.
I think some of the bases she have like a New Zealand something. She's got a couple of different ones, but I think that one in particular is a Gore one. But then she's got others that's got a couple of different sheep breeds in it as well. Well, yeah, she's used, but her stuff is so
beautiful.
Lovely.
Yeah. So that is another one that I want, that I've kind of set myself the goal of using this year, within that category of an all-over colourwork jumper. And the final one in the category of building out my wardrobe is another summer garment. So I love this t-shirt. I have another t-shirt that I've made, which was in the last video. And I just love wearing some, and it's our Ballarat itself doesn't necessarily have a long summer, but we do have like these really hot bursts.
I'm having one right now.
Yeah. I really want to have more summer garments in my wardrobe so that I can wear more of my homemade stuff throughout the year. So I don't have a specific pattern in mind, but I do have this yarn, which is the Summer Fiesta from Gore Woolen Mill. Again, we're big Gore Woolen Mill stands here. So this is the Summer Fiesta Aqua. This is the 5-ply, the sport weight. So it is 300 meters per 100 grams, and it's a 70% merino, 30% linen. I bought this at the Christmas Market 2024 with the intention of making the Anna Tee by Elizabeth Margaret from One Wild Designs. But when I swatched it, I couldn't get gauge. And because it has this big scoop neck, my concern was, I think my row gauge was really out. So my concern was that I wouldn't be able to recreate that scoop neck. But such a beautiful design, I'd love to find a way. The other thing is that she uses a fingering weight, and this is a more closer to a sport weight.
Right.
So that's probably why I couldn't get gauge. But so I'm on the lookout for another tee pattern that I could use this yarn in. And I would love to find another yarn to use for the Anna Tee at some point as well. And so then the final category for my Make 9 is stash busting. So I don't have a huge stash, but I do have yarn that's been in my stash for several years at this point. So I would like to work my way through that. So one of the goals is to knit something from frogged yarn.
I have a lot of that.
Yeah. I've only got a couple of things that I've frogged so far, and I've got one thing that I'm planning on frogging. So one of the things that I've made before is the Earth and Air sweater, or Earth and Air by James N. Watts, which is a 2-color brioche. And it uses, I used the BC Garn Big Bio Balance, which I think is a DK weight in a white color, and the Kremke Soul Wool Silky Kid mohair in this teal color. So as you can tell, maybe you can't tell, but I have, is that gonna work? As you can tell, maybe you can tell, maybe you can't, I have frogged this.
It's quite blue on camera, actually. It's a lot more green in real life.
Yeah, it's more green. So I frogged that mainly because I ended up, one of the things that I love about James's original is it feels really ethereal and it feels really like soft. And he used a yellow mohair, but in my head he used a white of the DK weight. But when I went back and looked at it, it's actually a more yellow leaning DK for the second color. Right. So his is a much more cohesive look, whereas I found mine was just way too high contrast for my taste.
Right.
So that's why I ended up frogging it. My intention with this is to re-knit the Earth and Air because I really love the pattern and the look of it, but to buy a colour that is more close to this, rather than to make it with a really high contrast. I want something that's a little bit more complementary.
Yeah.
So I need to buy some additional yarn to achieve that. And I need to figure out what I'm doing with the biobalance as well.
Mm.
But so that is a possibility for that goal of knitting from frogged yarn. The other thing is that I have my Never sweater, which is by Callie's Threads. It's just too oversized for me. Like it is intended to be extremely oversized, but I just find it, I don't feel like I can wear it. So I think I'm going to frog that. I've bought so that was knit out of Bendigo Woolen Mills yarn. So I've bought an additional skein of a contrast colour that I could put with that. Yeah, so my intention is to make potentially like a colourwork yoke sweater with those two yarns. I haven't frogged it yet, but I will. Like a Jennifer Steingass design or something like that, where there's a lot of colourwork in the yoke, but then it's pretty plain.
So is the purple going to be?
The purple will be the main colour because I have so much of it.
Yeah.
So I just bought a contrast ball, and I mean Bendigo yarn is like, it's 200 grams in a ball, so it's a lot of yarn that you get. So that contrast skein should be enough for any colourwork in. So that's that category. The other thing is that I got gifted a skein of yarn from Tandy for Christmas 2024, and I would really like to use it. And you might be seeing a theme here in terms of teals and blues, but I'd really like to use this year. So I want to find a pattern where I could use this as a contrast colour. So again, maybe a colourwork yoke, like maybe a Jennifer Steingass or maybe a different designer, but something to this effect would be, sort of what I'm aiming for. And the last one on my Make 9 is to spend my Maker voucher. So I got given a voucher from my old work for my birthday like 2 years ago to make a maker. I can't remember how much it is. I think it's maybe $100. And I just haven't spent it yet. And I'm pretty sure it expires in 2027. So I have to spend it this year. And I bought the BioBalance that I used in the Earth and Air sweater from Maker. So I'm tempted to actually buy like the teal to go with this, or the main color to go with this. I'm tempted to buy the BioBalance again from Maker using my voucher that I have.
Nice.
And then that way I'm building my stash up a little bit, but I'm also using it to use my stash.
Well, I work quite close to Maker, so if you need anyone to go and do any squishing for you, I'm happy to volunteer myself to do the squishing.
There you go. Sounds good. And I think that is pretty much it. Like I said, I don't really have specific. I do have the Hortik that I want to make specifically, and I have a couple of other ideas, but like I'm not wedded to any of these, and I'm not committed to making these projects specifically in the next 12 months. But I would like to achieve those 9 goals across a range of projects in the next 12 months.
Nice. So now it's my turn.
Yeah.
My turn. Okay, so I think mine is a little bit same but different.
Yeah.
Which is completely unplanned.
Yeah, it's funny that you said at the beginning that mine is going to be more structured, and it wasn't. Like I have a little bit of structure in terms of specific projects that I want to make.
Yeah.
But it's still very open-ended.
Yeah. So my same but different is kind of like similar patterns or similar themes or similar yarn. So my probably the first thing I think I'm going to make, I say that, we'll see. But the first thing I think I'm going to make, I have previously made an outline tee. We can put up a photo of the outline tee that I made a couple of years ago now, I think. And outline tee. So I really liked wearing it. But what I found when I think it was about the first time I put it on, maybe you pointed it out, I can't remember now, that my drop stitch down the center of the back is not in the center of the back. And it's way over to the left and goes down my shoulder blade. And once I knew it was there, I couldn't unknow it was there. And I kind of felt too self-conscious to wear it, even though nobody would probably really know or care. But I just I just couldn't do it.
Yeah. And I thought it was a cool design. Like, obviously it's not the intended design, but I thought it was a cool design feature for it to be a little bit more asymmetrical. But yeah, I can understand feeling like it's not the way that it should be, so I want to change it. I want to fix it.
See, and when you say it like that, I'm a little bit like, oh,
I told you that at the time.
I know, and I don't know. Anyway, we're here now. So I ripped it out, and I'm going to make another one. And I thought I was going to be really clever because it's bottom up. I thought I could rip it back just to the... I just assumed that I had either stretched it out when I blocked it or just miscounted somewhere, which seemed odd. I didn't know how I could do that. But anyway, so I thought I'll just rip back to the ribbing, and I'll start from the ribbing and work my way back up. I got to the ribbing and started to go around, and then you place markers for where your drop stitches are going to be. And so I started to do that and had up this weird number of stitches. It did not work. And the number of stitches I had was not even one of the sizes in the pattern. So I don't know what I did, but it explains a lot about the fit of that, which I'm a little bit sad about because I actually really like the fit. But now I'm going to look at that. I'm going to try and aim for that similar sort of fit the next time around and figure out what size I need to make. So I'm going to use the Gore Woolen Mills Summer Fiesta, which is what I knitted in the first time, and I pulled it out. So I'm going to use that again because I really liked it. So that's a 70% merino, 30% linen. So yeah, I think that's a pretty definite make because I've already made it, so I know it's not hard. It'll be really good actually. I have a really long commute. I travel down to Melbourne for work, usually about 3 times a week, and it's a good hour and a quarter each way on the train. It actually takes me 2 hours, but I get an hour and a quarter of solid, which is so good. Like it's kind of a long time, but it's such good knitting time, especially in the morning when it's nice and quiet and it's less crowded. So that's my first one. And then I also have a plan probably to make a second one, it's the same Summer Fiesta, but in this blue. I started to make this, I think, probably after the green one actually, because I loved it so much. So I started to make it, but then weirdly it seems to be it was a really strange size. Like I put it in hibernation. I think maybe it had got too cold or something, and so I sort of went off knitting it, and I put it in hibernation, and then when I got it out it was really small. So I'm not quite sure what I was doing. I thought I was knitting the same size and the same needles, but obviously like the sizing was completely bonkers on my green one anyway, so I don't know what happened to it. But this was out of stock, so I assumed I needed to buy more, but this was out of stock at Gore for quite a while, and they just recently got it back in, so I need to get some more. I think the new dye lot is a bit darker than this, so I must have more of it somewhere. But anyway, any excuse to go out to Gore and buy some more. So I think I'm going to try and just work this into, I'll probably buy like enough to make another one and just try and work this lighter one into it somehow. Maybe it'll just give it a bit of a mild effect. I mean, it's got this, kind of variegation through it where the linen kind of doesn't take on the dye so much anyway. So I'm sort of hoping that'll be okay. So that's probably my first ones that I'm going to do.
Fun.
I don't generally make like a make 9 as such, but now that I think about it, it's sort of happened accidentally where over time I've bought stuff or gone, oh yeah, I'm going to do that, and then sort of never get to it. So now it's become what am I making in 2026, which is very convenient. So the next thing on my list that I am very keen for and a little bit nervous about is the sheep sweater, which is a Rosa Pomar pattern. I've done a swatch. Now, I know that it's really hard to tell how big a swatch is when you've got no point of reference, but just, for reference, my hand. Now, I'm not a giant. But this looks like I'm a giant.
So this swatch is meant to be 10
it's
centimeters?
It's supposed to be 10 centimeters, and it's about 7. So this was using the recommended needle size, which I think was 3.75. I just thought, well, I'll just try it out, see how I go. It's meant to be on a light fingering, which I think this kind of falls into the category of. So I was sort of on track for that, but I clearly need to rethink my needles. So I'm going to have another go. It was quite fiddly to do, so I'm not mad about having to go up a needle or 4. So I guess we'll see, but yeah, once I had done this swatch, I was like, I need to put this down for a little while. It was a bit much. So these are the yarns that I'm planning to use for it, which I bought at the Gore Woolen Mill Christmas market in December last year. And this one is the Gore Labella. The colour is Aristaeus, and it's 80% merino, 20% alpaca. And then the dark brown is Windara Polworth in the colour Dairy Milk, which is the name of the sheep. I think she names the colours after the names of all her sheep. So that's, I'm very, very much want this in my wardrobe. So I really want this to work. I'm just going to have to figure out how that works.
And I think it's such a fun pattern from the perspective of like, it represents what we love about knitting, which is using natural fibers and honoring the sheep.
And it's got like baby sheep in it. Like it's such a cute jumper. I just have sort of been obsessing about it for a really long time. So I'm very, very keen to have that happen this year.
It's definitely on my long list to make at some point, but I don't think it's in my immediate 2026 plans.
And I don't know how I'm going to go, to be honest, because I also want to do the Bendigo Project this year, and I don't even know what that is yet. The Bendigo Project was a collective of Australian designers and yarn dyers who got together last year and came up with a bunch of patterns, and the dyers, did yarns for it, and then we all sort of gather. It's like our version of Rhinebeck, right? So this is like our Rhinebeck sweater sort of thing. And so we all got together on the Saturday and had photos taken, and I did one for the last year one, which is in our previous video. So my plan is to do that again this year. So that's obviously releasing the patterns in March. I think the beginning of March the patterns are meant to come out. So then I've got until kind of mid-July to make whatever it is that I'm going to make. So that's obviously going to take up quite a bit of my time, because that's 3-4 months. Yeah, I guess about 4 months. So that might push the sheep sweater aside, but I'm kind of hoping that, I'll be able to do a bit of both. The theme this year for the Bendigo Project is twists and textures and twists, something like that. So I'm sort of working on the theory that if that's a bit of a cable-y situation, that will be pretty easy to work on, I think, which will be maybe a nice break from the intense colour work. I keep thinking of all these really tricky things to do for myself when I think about what else I've got on my list. So the other thing I have on my list is the EXP sweater by Susanna Cartman, who is Sana & Co. And I bought these last year. So I bought these last year at the Bendigo Sheep Show from Leigh, which is a wool producer in South Australia. And it's 100% pole. Yes, it's 100% pole merino. This one is bloodwood, camel, olive, and natural. And this one is Bordeaux. So I think they're just think together they're going to be so beautiful. I'm a bit nervous about making it, because if it's half fisherman's rib, I've never done that before. If it's brioche, I'm terrible at it, because I always end up dropping stitches. Always drop stitches, and I haven't figured out how to make it yet. So I can't remember if it's brioche or half fisherman's rib. Either way, it's going to be a challenge. But I'm excited.
Yeah, it's very fun. I really like the design. I nearly bought a kit for it. So at the Bendigo Sheep Show last year, Susanna was selling kits from Louis and Lola yarns for the EXP, and I nearly bought one.
Yeah, the kits were pretty beautiful.
They were really, really nice. But in the end, I couldn't justify spending the money when I knew I didn't have the time to work on it anytime soon.
Yeah.
But maybe one day.
That was kind of my big whim purchase. I went to Bendigo last year with a bit of a plan for the things I wanted to get, And I don't think I even had a sweaters quantity of anything on my list. But I've had the EXP for a while. I think I've had the EXP pattern since the She's Crafty market.
Where we first bought it?
Yeah. She had samples at the She's Crafty market in 2023. And I think I first saw it there. And I think I bought it sometime after that, intending to make it, and then sort of never really bought any yarn or anything like that. So when I saw the kits at Bendigo, I was very tempted. But I think they were either superwash or they had nylon in them, something like that. And so I would rather buy 100% wool and not have nylon in my yarns. So I sort of ummed and ahed a little bit, and then the Leah Sim stand was just down from Santa & Co. And I just, so I got those. So I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty excited. So the other thing I have on my list is not a very specific wish, but it is that I really want a slip over. I really want a slip over in my wardrobe. I think it would be really wearable for me. You know, sort of good to wear in the office, you know, when the office is a little bit cooler. If I have my arms out, I find I'm quite cold if my arms are out. So it sort of feels like maybe that's that happy medium. I don't know. I might, I've never worn one before, so I might find it's not actually that functional, but it's also not a ton of knitting either. So if I make one and I go, it's not really, so I don't make any more, you know, that's okay. So I sort of look at those Teddy Looks At ones quite often. I'm just not sure if that shape would really suit me and the way that I dress. I think in my head I want a sort of oversized-ish one, you know, like I want quite a low armhole, I think, and I think I want a bit of room that I can sort of just throw on over multiple things. So that's kind of a loose. I have no patterns in mind. I have no yarns in mind. At all.
There's a couple of patterns I think out at the moment, or have come out relatively recently, that have like ties on the side.
Yeah, I don't like those.
Oh, you don't like that?
Yeah, okay. No, I've seen those and like a couple with buttons, and I just think, no.
So you'd rather it be like a full knit in the round?
Yep.
And then, but with a lower armhole?
Yeah, I don't like anything up under my arms at all. And I think that way too, because what actually made me start thinking about a slip over in the first place was I've got a dress that I sewed that's got quite deep, like quite wide sleeves. So that was what I actually first thought, if I had a slip over, that'd be perfect, because they're quite long and it's linen. So it's sort of light, but I can wear it with tights and that sort of thing. So it is relatively transferable to kind of winter, autumn sort of days. But I think if I just, because of the size of the sleeves, it's hard to kind of put a jacket or anything over it. So I think if I had a slip over, it would be perfect. It would be, so that's kind of my goal, and that's sort of the vision I have in my brain of how I would wear it. So we'll see if that one comes to fruition. Because I have nothing else, I feel like it's sort of further down the list because I don't have anything for it yet.
Yeah, it's not specifically planned.
Yeah.
Formed.
So the last thing I have on my list is really I'm hoping to kind of force myself to make this. I've had this in my stash, so to speak, for a little while. We went to the Melbourne Frocktails in 2024 and I won a door prize. And so the door prize was a $100 voucher for the Indie Stitches Emporium, which is such a good website. Like it has so much good stuff on it. It took me, like I actually spent months going back to it, looking and figuring out what I might want to get, because I wanted to make sure I like really got good, useful stuff on it. So I ended up getting a like a flexible hemming guide thing for my sewing, which I haven't done for a long time. So that's still sitting waiting to be used. I also bought a like needle felting kind of tool as well, and I bought this embroidery kit. And so I have never done embroidery, so this is something of a new challenge for me, but I couldn't resist it. It's very so cute. So my goal is to make this and have it eventually hanging in my craft space. So yeah, we'll see.
I really like the cable down the sheep's back.
Yeah,
it's got all these different knit textures on it.
Yeah, it's pretty cute.
Yeah, love it.
So yes, I'm very excited to give this a shot. So at some point, hopefully we'll get to that. I'm not very patient. I don't know, I knit and that takes ages. So I guess I do have some patience. I guess I've just never done any needlework. So I love the look of it and I love the idea of it, but I just, But anyway, we'll see. Well, remains to be seen if that happens or not. Fingers crossed. So I think that's kind of it for I think that's enough, realistically. I think the things I'm looking to do, apart from the outline tee, which is, relatively straightforward, reasonably just round and round for a while, the other things on my list are kind of involved. So I think that's going to be plenty to keep me going. And if I finish them all, it'll be a miracle. Realistically, let's see.
And you've got space to change your mind about things. Like you're not really the only thing. Well, I guess you've got pretty defined plans for all of it, except for the slip over.
Yes.
And obviously the Bendigo Project, we don't know yet what that's going to be. I want to do the Bendigo Project this year as well.
Yeah.
I nearly did it last year, but I had a few things on the go at the time, so I decided to sit it out. But because one of my goals for the year is texture, and because their theme for the year is texture, I think it would fit really nicely. I love textured garments, so that is something I want more of in my wardrobe. So I think it makes sense. And yeah, it was quite fun. Like I felt a little bit like, I don't know if I would want to be in that crowd when I was watching it. But at the same time, it was really fun that everyone was wearing the same thing, and like you could see people throughout the day wearing the same
all
pattern.
that.
So I am keen to make something out of their collection for this year.
Actually, that is another little thing that kind of ticks away in the back of my brain a couple of times when I think about Bendigo. I find myself occasionally going, what am I going to make for Bendigo this year? It's a little bit of that Rhinebeck thing, right? Like
what am I going to wear?
Because we go for the 3 days. Like going for the 3 days is so much fun. I feel like obviously I'm going to wear something different every day. So I'm going to have my Bendigo Project, touch wood, my Bendigo Project for the Saturday. I assume we're going to do it on Saturday again. But then that means I need something for Friday and I need something for Sunday.
And it would be great because I think that this sheep sweater would be absolutely amazing to wear to Bendigo.
That has to be finished. It has to be
finished. But
you
just said before, if this has to take a back seat because of the Bendigo Project.
Yeah.
Like this is, I don't know.
So I should be starting that now.
Yeah.
I should be starting my sheep sweater now-ish.
So that you've got a month and a bit of
before
leeway.
The Bendigo Project even comes out. Ooh.
And you can rewear patterns that you wore, like that you made last year. Like you don't have to make all new, because like
yes, true.
You technically didn't finish your Bendigo project from last year in time for the sheep show.
It's true.
So you could wear that as one of your garments.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what I'm gonna wear at this point. I would love.
Yes.
I would love to have my Tetty pattern, the Hortik, done in these yarns in time for the sheep show. And then obviously whatever I choose to make out of the Bendigo project, I will probably need to buy yarn for. I probably won't have enough. I don't think I really have another sweaters. I have one sweaters quantity in stash, but it's a sport weight, and I don't think it's very common that Australian designers design in sport weight.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. So I don't know what I'm going to wear this year, but that's something to look forward to and get excited about.
Yes.
And keep in mind as we're planning what we're working on and when. Perfect.
All right.
So I think that's all of our plans, such as they are, for 2026. And we will see as the year progresses how we progress with those plans.
Yes. Which is why it's so fun to record these, so you can look back and go, oh, I didn't do any of those things.
Didn't do any of it.
Silly me. I thought I was going to get that.
Yeah. So yes. So thank you for joining us for
episode 2.
And we will hopefully be back with another episode very soon. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Might have to cut that out. Was judgy tone, and I didn't mean judgy tone. Oh, thank God.